Hey everybody, welcome to episode 126 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. Jingle. Welcome back. I'm pretty sure it's 126. I may have missed the show notes up, but I feel like that's where we are about now, which is ridiculous. Anyway, I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Tithe Ben. BT, how are you?
Hello, very good, thank you.
Good. And we've got our 3D printing correspondent, Ian Triple Pow. Triplo, Trips, you keeping all right?
I'm not too bad, not too bad.
See, the lights in the background, I'm going to have to come up with it. You're going to look like Captain Scarlet or something. There is something going on in the background with the lighting. And we've broken Miltonio Banderas out of prison, and he is back with us today. Mills, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Milton hasn't
from my
been
my few weeks stint.
Community service. No, Milton, you had a bit of flu, didn't you? I think it's doing the rounds. So
it was doing the rounds. I'm all good now. Feeling better.
Good, cool. Other than disparaging comments, Ben, what are we talking about on the podcast today?
Just vampires.
Just vampires.
Yeah, I mean they're out. We can mull it over. I mean, you guys have had a couple of games with them, or a game with them, and I think it'd be fun to talk about.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we'll talk through the roster, we'll talk through some of the positionals, we'll talk through the Bloodlust rule. We did a live stream last week, so Trips, we had the Ian off, full-on Ian versus Ian action on the live stream, and it was awesome to get the new roster properly on the go. There's a ton of people playing a load of games with them as well, and I think it's really cool to see. And Milton, I kind of feel like you're kind of like the team of legends representative in the team. I don't know why. I just have this vibe that like every time it's just like, oh, chuff's the next. So it'll be good to kind of catch up around teams of legend and whether we think it's a safe environment as well as we move on. But we've got a little bit of news, a little bit of hobby, and then, like Ben said, all about vampires. Okay, we're recording again. We've come back. Before we start, I just want to say Milton has not been to jail. I was going because Milton was ill. So I was going to say we've broken him out of the hospital, and then I was like, well, no, I don't want to say that because that sounds really serious. And I was like, well, where else do you break someone out of? And I was like, oh, obviously jail.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I mean, your street cred's gone up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Street Milton.
Street cred Milton. Get your rosters in online on time. The last person who didn't get their roster in is the reason Milton was in jail. So things that are not true. Anyway, on to things that are true. We'll bounce into news. There's no Blood Bowl news again. No, it's all right. I feel like this is an episode where I feel like it's okay to say that there's no Blood Bowl news. I know that Kirov Kraken Face is up for pre-order from Forge World, but
we talked about him.
I'm still I know that in Blood Bowl 3 he's got Edge 3+.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not sold. I'm still not sold that he's going to end up properly having Edge 3+.
Why?
Because he's a Dark Elf.
He's going to be so broken if he's.
He can't see, Ben.
Yeah, he's got a helmet on.
Yeah, that's why he's Edge 3+.
And tentacles.
Yeah, he's carrying that around on his face.
Can't see.
Yeah, you stick a plate over your face and like a massive tentacles and try and dodge on a 2+.
Do you know, I actually bought one of those like woolly hat Cthulhu things before, like with the Cthulhu thing on the front. Definitely -1 edge. You may be onto something here. I dodge away from people though, to be fair. I'm quite immobile. All right. I'm intrigued. I don't know. I just like cyanide, trips. Are they generally speaking doing a good job of enacting the actual rules of Blood Bowl?
I was going to say, of all the things that Blood Bowl 3 has got wrong, the stats is not one of them. Everything that's been in the game, stat-wise, has been the same as it is.
Yeah. I've
They
been
might
really
not be able to
impressed.
get the rules to work, or interceptions to work, or be able to even work out that weather is a 2d6, not a 1d6.
Oh! I saw that they. I'm having a day. I saw that the interceptions thing's being fixed though.
Yeah, that's being fixed tomorrow, hopefully. So
What
no
was wrong
more.
with that?
If you went for an interception, you guaranteed yourself a game crash.
Oh, amazing.
Oh,
Love that.
That's fine because I never play games where I pass the ball.
Yeah.
So.
Passing's
I think
dead
it's rather
anyway.
briefing passing because you're like, well, would you like to intercept? Remember, you will have to crash and concede the game if you try.
I'd love that. I'd love to see who they brought on as like that. If anyone played Blood Bowl here in the new edition, let's bring them on. Right, okay. Passing, like interceptions. And some bloke was just like, nah, passing's
Too
dead.
many
mate.
rules.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Just don't put it in. Like, what happens if it happens? They're like, just crash the game. It's clearly
You
just
win.
unfinished code because they were like, people don't pass anymore. Everyone knows this.
Yeah. And this will at least put people off passing. Disincentivize people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 9 months of it not working.
No, it's just not going to pass anymore.
Yeah. I heard swarming worked out the gate though. That's good.
Really?
Yeah. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Actually, on Blood Bowl 3, Milt, you've had quite a sesh, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I say, yeah, I've had 6 games in the ladder. I'm 2 for 2 for 2, so I'm even at the moment.
What team are you
Which
running?
Orcs.
Yeah, I know. Have you
do you know-
designed them to look like your team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Actually, I didn't know for the first 3 games. I literally just went, I just want to play. Like, I can't be bothered with this. I just default. After they'd like won their first game, I was like, all right, now you've earned
Care
it.
about them now. Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, Milton was like, "Ooh, I might have to use some of these gems and get some customizations." And
I haven't
Makes my
spent
one
any of-
blitzer look
Yeah, there aren't really any for the orcs though. Like they get like one guy with like an extra bit of metal on his face, and that's it. There's not really much going on for the orc team in terms of customization.
are you saying orc players are cheap?
Well, I am.
It's weird to have like a big customization system with like monetization and not have any incentive really to use it.
It's
Strange
so
choice.
it's so
Yeah.
frustrating. Like I refuse to. I mean, like it's not. I'm not like dismissing it. You know, if you want to go out and buy the blood pass and everything, you know, it's there for a reason, and they've got all of this stuff. But like for me, I'm just refusing to do it because I look at it and I don't feel like I'm gonna like. I don't have the time to play the game enough to earn all the stuff. And you buy into the blood pass, and then you have to level up in order to get the stuff as well. So not only do you buy in, you also have to play on top of the buy-in. And I'm like, I either want to pay just to have the stuff because I don't have the time, or I want to play to get it. I don't want to have. I don't want to have to do both at the same time because I can't justify that. So I was just like, you know what? I just don't care. Like I can just play vanilla orcs and never buy anything. So.
You get the Blood Pass Premium, so you get the Blood Pass and you skip the first 20 levels, and then you have to grind for
Yeah, then you have to grind the rest of the other 30. I was like, oh,
Hang
okay,
on.
fine. And
Is
actually,
Is that real?
yeah, and then the
Yeah.
final prize is the Underworld team anyway, which you've just paid for. So I don't really know what the people that pay for the Blood Pass get as like getting to level 50.
Oh, you get bits and pieces of customization along the way, but
But that aside, I've absolutely loved playing on it.
Yeah.
Like I've been really impressed. I've only had one issue where after kickoff.
Did you pass, Milton?
No, I haven't. I don't want to. After kickoff, I got disconnected. It said, "Oh, you've lost it connection to the internet." I was like, "I'm pretty sure I haven't." Reloaded the game, and it logged me out. And so I had to log back in again. Once I'd logged back in again, it reconnected me to the game straight away, and we just picked up where we left off. Which was great. But like other than that, I've had absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. It's been really good fun. Other than, you know, like the atrocious dice rolling and things. But I mean, that's not.
Oh,
That's
that's
nothing
very
unusual.
present on the tabletop. That.
Oh no, I had this one Underworld game, and by like turn 3, he'd KO'd 5 of my orcs. I was just like, this is crazy.
Against
Yeah.
Underworld.
Yeah,
Underworld are mad, man.
yeah.
Ban them from the game.
I've played against.
'Cause they just have a rat ogre and then the blitzer and then you just foul everything with something.
It's really interesting because 3 of my 6 games have been against Underworld. I'm guessing they're just people are picking them because it's popular, and I'm in like the new tier because I haven't got a new. That's like a brand new team, and every single one of those has been a completely different build. So the first game that I played against was no snotlings. It was like full stack Skaven and a rat ogre with a couple of goblins. And then
that's probably a good place to start, but normally you drop a goblin for 3 snotlings if you can.
yeah. And then the next one I played against was like a troll, couple of snotlings, Skaven, goblins, like a good mix. And then the final one I played against was like full snotlings, a handful of goblins, less Skaven. I don't think he had the Skaven blitzer.
Weird.
And a troll.
Oh, then that guy definitely lost a bet.
I felt kind of bad. I like absolutely mullered him.
Well, he took the troll. Of course you did.
Injured his troll. injured his gutter. Injured his. I think I pretty much like wiped the team out by the end of it. It's just one of those games.
I am pleased to hear though, because I know you kind of stayed away from it for a little while, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't want to buy it. I bought it late. I bought it when it went on sale. It's like 25% off.
Yeah, it's
almost worth it.
It's good. It's good. It's limited, but it is good. And you're quite right, Milt. You can binge a load of great games. You can start brewing up your team, and it's really good fun. Like it's not perfect. It's got an awfully long way to go, but actually it looks good. It plays well. It's good fun, and it's Blood Bowl. It's actual rules Blood Bowl asterisks most of the time. It's more accurate than Blood Bowl 2, as far as actual Blood Bowl is. So,
like average game time is about an hour as well.
Yeah.
So like the 2-minute turn timers are interesting. I always find that like maybe the first like 3-4 turns go over a little bit.
Yeah.
Then when you get into the pattern, everyone's under the 2 minutes, and the games just start to go really, really quickly. That or the teams are just getting diminished.
The only difficulty I found on there is that if you're like, right, I've got an hour before I start work, I've got an hour at lunchtime, I've got an hour between my meetings, I'll play a game. The worst is when you start a game, you play a few turns, then they concede, and then you're left with 45 minutes, and you're like, I can't guarantee I'm not going to get a slow dwarf player here, and it's just going to be an hour. But I mean, that is significantly better than 2.5 hours for a tabletop game. So actually, it's still very good. The fact you can cram 6 or 7 games into a couple of days without just living it is phenomenal, and that I'm really excited to see that as they add more teams, as they square out the rules, because we're going to see how teams develop. Kind of, it's like the hyperbolic time chamber for Blood Bowl, which is pretty cool because we're going to get to see these teams just with some egregious builds.
Well, that's an interesting thing because we're not full team. I guess it has a different meta.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does.
And
which in itself is actually really interesting. It's like a micro league. It's like 6 Nations. For Blood Bowl.
It is very bash heavy though, because there's only one elf team, which is the Dark Elves.
Elven Union, man.
They're Elven Union. Yeah, I've not seen them though.
You got EU. You've got I suppose Skaven and Underworld are kind of mid-range, really, aren't they? As are Lizards. They might even count as bash when they get brewing.
You got Black Orcs, Nobility. Both the Chaos teams, Dark Elves, Dirty Dwarfs, Elven Union, Humans, Nurgle, who are good on Blood Bowl 3 because they just level up forever, Old World Alliance, Orcs, and Skaven, of course. And now with the Necroman. Antic Horror joined this season.
I'm excited to see Halflings land. Or just some stunty goodness.
We don't have any stunties yet, do we?
No. Goblins would be nice as well. It would just be interesting to see. Snotlings will be carnage. The problem with Snotlings, as much as I love the team, they take a long time to play. Because
They're definitely coming next, Ben. Because they already have the models for them in the Underworld team.
Well, you've got quite a few different models.
You got to add a few more, but like, I mean,
Flingers,
the Underworld,
Hoppers,
the Underworld
Stilties,
team is just a
Pumpwagons.
combination of the other one.
Yeah, that one's exactly available. No wonder they put OWA in there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But we'll have to wait and see with that. But it's good to see that BB3 is up and running. And quite frankly, though, it's all about tabletop at the moment. Because Games Workshop have dropped the most recent team. We've seen vampires, we've got vampires, we've played with vampires, and now we start the what's next wagon, and we've got Warhammer Day coming up. Now, listed in the previews for Warhammer Day is only 40k Age of Sigmar, the Old World, and Kill Team, but I thought it'd be worth having a little chat about this. What do you think we're going to see at this open day preview thing? I'm going to have to mute the microphones because I'm going to sneeze. Please continue.
I really don't know. Like, I have been so out of the loop since like the run up to the World Cup. I haven't done anything but Blood Bowl, and Conquest. Weirdly, so tell me about that, and I'll tell you. But ask me about that. No, yeah, I don't know.
is it just those 4 that are coming out then?
Yeah.
Well, it's obvious then, isn't it? It's Space Marines, Stormcast, 3D renders, and probably more Space Marines.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just too cynical.
No, I don't think you're far off. 40k, I mean, they've released the Space Marines and all the Tyranid stuff now. The new Space Marine Codex is
Oh
out.
yeah.
So,
We knew Kodak this minute.
That'll
No.
be the army boxes for Christmas, won't it?
oh,
Oh,
Bonehead.
that's true. I did see rumors for those. Yeah. Good point.
Do they drop the Red Gobbo model this early? Does it come later?
Probably a bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah, combat
what-
boxes is probably about right. The only fun rumor I've heard is for a space hulky kind of stuff with Kill Team, even though the new Kill Team is apparently all to be like flyers. So I'm interested to keep an eye out for that, because if they have a Kill Team with like flying units, so your jetpacks and stuff like that, we could, Trips, have some pretty sweet Necromunda terrain sneaking out in there. I can see
There's a space for another Kill Team box on the shelf.
that would be cool to see. But my question for you guys with that view of the preview is, what team next for Blood Bowl, and when will it be? Let's have the round table guesstimates.
Who first?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I was gonna say, Milt.
I actually think High Elves are coming next.
I'd say you got a guy on the inside, but I would probably be taken wrong after the beginning of the show. So, High Elves.
Yeah, no, I actually just I don't. So what? We've got 3 teams of Legend left, right? We've got Chaos Dwarves,
Tomb Kings and High
slash
Elves.
Khemri or whatever, and High Elves.
Yeah.
And I think Tomb Kings are off the list. The reason I think they're off the list is because they'll fit into the Sylvanian families. We've just had a Sylvanian families one. It feels kind of odd to double down on that. I mean, it's not impossible, but it seems unlikely. I actually think they'll probably come last, if anything, of the teams of Legend. I reckon we're going to go High Elves, then Chorfs, then Tomb King.
It's really interesting because these 3 teams that are left, High Elves are, generally speaking, the second most winningest team in tournaments as a percentage.
Oh, out of the ones that could.
No, just in all Blood Bowl.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, I did not help with that.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
no. They're one of the least played teams because obviously until kind of Punga went, and well, actually this year's been a good year for High Elves, but until that point it was kind of like you had the old teeny tiny men, and that was it. But like, yeah, no, High Elves have been ranked 2 for most of the year. So when I've done the monthly betters, High Elves have normally been second spot, and Tomb Kings have overachieved throughout the entire edition. They're sticking around between 5th and 10th, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
They don't have Hack Phlegm. It's just out of pure consistency.
They do have Cheney.
Yeah, but Cheney's quite expensive for a Tomb King build, because when you go to tournaments, you can take everything, but then you got to smash your rerolls in there because obviously skeletons don't really have hands, which definitely adds to the challenge.
They are now going to have the Ghoul,
Luther.
right? And Luther.
Yeah.
That
Luther Tomb Kings looks really fun.
is definitely something that's going to be really interesting to see.
Mm.
And actually, I think Karina as well. I mean, the Bloodlust is going to suck.
She's
But
2+ though.
yeah,
And she can bite an opponent.
Yeah.
the first time, yep.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy good.
she's gonna bonehead like once or twice a game. That's not bad for a strength 4 edge 2+ dodger with movement 7. That I think is going to be a very lovely piece for the undead. And I saw some of Bruty's sculpts for his version of Karina today, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Way less of a stupid hat, which is a massive boon. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And Chorfs, the other missing team, are also not bad, right?
Quite solid, yeah. Like, I don't think they change much. They don't really have to.
I don't see any of them changing.
High elves, I can see. They're
Yeah.
quite boring as a vanilla team. They just don't have much, and they like to give them shenanigans now, like each
Yeah,
team.
they haven't got enough positionals. They'll
It's
vary
blitzer,
from
catcher,
positionals,
thrower,
yeah.
and it's very pass, catch,
Yeah.
block.
Yeah, I think we may have touched on this before. It'd be cool if they kind of split them up into the different, like, white lions of Krace. Like,
Yeah, that's probably what they'll do.
That would be my
Yeah,
guess. Is
flavor.
some because I keep defending Games Workshop and saying, actually, generally speaking, they're doing a really good job of curating the game from a balance point of view. They'll probably drop strength 4 elves with the White Lions of Grace being in there, because they were strength 4 in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I can just see that happening.
Making the blitzers,
You can
it's
see their
fine.
blitzers getting some kind of special trait.
Strength 4 elves would not be fair.
no.
Oh,
That would not be.
I agree, but I can see that kind of like, that's the only twist I can see. Or maybe they just go kind of like block, catch, dauntless on the blitzers,
Yeah, probably.
kind of going
Yeah, I
like
was
a
gonna say
Bretonian
skills,
Knight vibe, adding more catchers to the high elf roster, giving them a bit of a. That would be I think a pretty. That would be a reasonable mid house, but yeah, with
Chorfs though? Would Chorfs get changed?
Ben.
I can't see them doing anything with. Yeah.
It was interesting because obviously Craig was asking about Chorf in the Wobble chat this week, and you were like, "They're boring."
They are a bit dull. I don't like. I just don't like playing dwarves. It's really not a playstyle that gels with me. I don't like grinding, and like when your players get knocked down, it's just like, okay, now I just need to spend my turn standing them up, and like, I don't know. I just found them pretty miserable. And outside of the stretch plays with the Bull Centaur, which happened like once a game, if that, it's just and as if you're willing to put the ball on the Bull Centaur. And yeah, I just found them like I played them like Skaven just to try and make them fun, and it worked well for 3 games.
Careful, I get told off for doing that on the internet.
Yeah, so it was just like, well, the Bull Centaurs are movement 9, so they're gutter runners, but with strength 4, and yeah, so that's the playstyle I had.
I actually,
but yeah,
carry on, man.
Sorry, I find the team more interesting than dwarves, and I think there is a place for that. Just personally, I find that playstyle boring.
I was going to say it's that kind of that challenge of like, it's a really interestingly built team because you've got the Bull Centaurs who are like wicked positionals, and you've got the Hobgoblins that are kind of like as close to average as you could possibly get in this game. And then you've got some dwarves and a brilliant Minotaur. And it's just like a really interesting mix. But you're right, it is that it's very disparate, which I think it adds to the charm of the team. It's a case of like,
Yeah,
right, here are my dwarves. I use my dwarves defensively. Here are my hobgoblins. I'm kind of punching with them. And here are my bull centaurs that kind of want to be the stars of the show, but they are only edge 4+. So it's kind of like right, it's a really interesting mix of like reliable and unreliable. And I think that's why there's quite a lot of charm to them. As to what they'll do with them, I don't know. I can't remember which one of you guys said they may not change much of the teams of Legend, because they probably don't need to. Like Tomb Kings, I think are a perfect roster. The what they do, what makes them up.
They have identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is the constant kind of sort of response to like all of these strength 4 pieces and all of these kind of changes, is that it's kind of making everything a bit samey. In the sense that like you're mirror matching, so it's like I've got 2 strength 4 pieces. Oh, I've got 2 strength 4 pieces. So like, I really hope they don't give a strength 4 piece to the high elf team.
I mean, I don't think they will. Like, I think you're right. I think when it comes to the last of the teams of legend, we may not see much change to them. And you know what? They're probably left them last because realistically, they need the least change. Vampires needed some spice. We've wanted some spice for them. We were like, oh, positionals might be nice, bloodlust might be nice, a big guy might be nice, and they were like, yes, here, have it all. And I think they've done an awesome job. They spiced up Amazons brilliantly, like perfectly seasoned. Okay, we're talking Nando's peri peri salt. They did a beautiful job of Amazons. The Norse drunkard thing was a little bit questionable, but actually it toned them down a little bit, and they got rid of the catchers that, you know, they got rid of the throwers, sorry, and actually made those more interesting positionals. Vampires they've knocked out the park. But if they do a cool little bit of seasoning with the elves, apparently I'm all about the food analogies today, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. But so high elves for Milt Trips. What do you reckon?
I think it's high elves as well, and I think we will see them announced in January and out in February.
That seems reasonable as a timeline. BT.
See, I think they're going to save high elves for something with the old world. I think that's a really good time to bring them in. And I think now, considering the last 2 releases have been Teams of Legend, I think something new would be most interesting. I think maybe realistically it'll be a Team of Legend because it's like we need to get these out
thing
now.
To do, right?
Yeah, like we need to have them. And 2024 coming up is the 4-year anniversary of the second season, and I guess you kind of would want the Teams of Legend to have a rule set for that if they're considering doing more. But I don't know, a new team would be so much more interesting.
I don't see the old world tie-in, but if they did Chorfs next, and then they did a new starter box with Tomb Kings and High Elves to
that would be
mimic
so
the
good.
thing.
Yeah.
I think to your point, Ben, about the old world tie-in, if they do new high elf models, I could see that being a negative to a high elf team in Blood Bowl, because I feel like there's a bit of a potentially a market cannibalism in those two. I think you're going to see. Yeah, I think if they drop a high elf team separate to the old world, I think you'll get a lot of old world players sucked in and be like, oh, this is like the 90s when I had my high elf Blood Bowl team, and they'll bring them back into Blood Bowl. I think if they were like, here's Warhammer Old World high elves and here's Blood Bowl high elves, I don't think they'd get the pickup sales. I think a high elf team is probably one of the most nostalgic ones because of what you guys said, like the old world vibe. I mean, Milt, you and I are massive high elf players back in the day, right? So a gleaming white and silver Conehead team would be like awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much looking forward to the high elf aesthetic. I do wonder though, with the old world stuff, how much are they doing new kits? Because I know a lot of high elf fantasy battle players who still have their high elves.
To be fair, they're probably still going to be using them.
And if they don't change up to make like a lot of new kits and they just revisit and reuse a lot of the old ones, is there a massive market for those people?
It really depends on how much support they put into the old world. It's not looking like that's going to be a huge amount of support. But I mean, do you remember the Spire Guard, Loathen Sea Guard?
Yeah.
They were phenomenally good models. If they did something like that, but for Silver Helms or whatever, awesome. I guarantee you that anybody who's got Silver Helms from the last edition will merrily upgrade them to a newer kit that looks less like Lego. So, like, I think as you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, yeah. Oh, I see. You also have concrete hand fist. Yeah, no, like there's a ton of stuff. If they do that, I think it'll be fine. But I don't know what they're going to do with the old world, and it might just be a massively slow brew. for me, I really, 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 really want them to sneak in a little extra new team, preferably Squigs, preferably not Slanesh, and preferably by the end of this year.
Why?
So I win the prediction.
I think
It's coming. It's
I'm
coming.
I'm a
You'll
firm
laugh.
believer that we're going to get one before the end of the year.
A Slash team, yeah.
Well, it could be.
I think you're right.
I'm not sure what, but I reckon we'll have one before the end of the year.
Pretty
Give-
festive.
Given the resounding no that we got when we were at Games Workshop and asked about Slan, that just makes me
Exactly.
think there's even more chance that they will bring back Slan, but that it will massively be not Slan. And I think you may be massively onto something, Ben. Like,
That's right. It's a guaranteed no because they've already done it and it's Slash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we've got Korn, we've got Nurgle, we need Zinch, we need Slanesh, and
Exactly.
they could tick the box while essentially killing an IP infringing team. I think. I
mean, I've mentioned this before, but like one of the kind of things that isn't super fleshed out in Blood Bowl is the whole favored of,
yeah.
not flavored. We'll go back to your
Flavored
seasoning.
of, yeah.
Because that doesn't really do an awful lot at the moment. It allows there's a few stars that kind of sit on the.
I think
the
it just
line.
hurts Korn, doesn't it? Is that not just like all it does, really?
I can't take the Noble stars.
Well, yeah, that doesn't really hurt anybody, does it?
No.
Oh no, I can't take Edge 4 with a grasp.
I was thinking Hagflem was Nurgle, but he's not, is he?
No.
Chaos. Yeah.
30,
No, he's not even that, is he? He's
favoured of Horned Rat. That's what it blimmin' should be.
what-
He is
what
favoured
is
of.
he?
He's favored of. He's just favored of.
Is
dot,
he?
dot, dot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he was. Was he got two?
No, he's just Chaos Undivided.
I think he's Underworld challenge as well.
Yeah, Underworld Challenge. That's the one I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think he's not Badlands though. It's just Underworld.
Yeah, he has Badlands.
I don't think so. I don't think.
Oh
so.
no, Orcs can't take him.
No, he's not.
No,
He's
Goblin. Is it Goblins have Underworld? Because
Mm.
yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that I always forget that goblins could take Hackflem, and then like whenever I'm like, they don't have a good star access, and everyone's like, no, they get Hackflem. Goblins are just cursed in tournaments. It's kind of it makes me want to run goblins, which is why I'd like to see them on Blood Bowl 3.
It's so funny though because they absolutely smashed. Was it?
Was it
Safka Summer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
We
was
had like 5 goblins in the like top 10 or something silly, didn't we?
that was
Yeah, it was
peak
Bomber.
bomber
Oh,
though,
meta.
wasn't it?
That was the advent of Bomber, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bomber hackers, the meta. Yeah.
Oh, the dark times. Anyway, so we've got some interesting stuff coming up. Trips, Ben, Milt. We were talking about this in the Wobble chat earlier, and about the cadence of releases. And I know we talked about it on the show before. We've seen Vamps now, and we kind of had a chat that actually 6 monthly releases. Like I know that when they changed it over, they were like, we'll do it on every quarter and it'll be wicked. But where we run tournaments and stuff, we saw Norseland, and by the time Amazons came out, people were just about painted their Norse teams. So, and that was about 6 months, I think. May have been even more, I think. I don't know. No, they were like April and October, weren't they? So there's about 6 months. So I actually think a 6 monthly release cycle is probably where I think it's probably the right speed for Games Workshop with Blood Bowl teams. I think actually 2 teams a year, a Dungeon Bowl expansion, and some kind of additional player expansion. While I would personally, obviously, like twice as much information, like twice as much stuff for Blood Bowl, I feel like because of the community that Blood Bowl kind of is, and the fact that you're in a league, right, and you're in a league for 4 months, that actually a new team every 6 months is probably about right. So as much as I'd love another team this year, I am okay if we don't have one until spring, because I think vampires are out, people are going to be playing them, we're all going to stop for Christmas. Everyone's going to be too poor to go outside of their house in January. Everyone's going to bring vampires to Beachhead. Tickets are up now, in February. And then actually, if we got a new release in March, April, that would be pretty cool. So if we could do that and have squigs ready for Dungeon Ball, that would be would be ridiculous. And now they've freed up Animal Savagery, the Animal Savagery team. Makes me think even more that a squig team would be super appropriate, and that those rules would fit much better on a squig team than on a vampire team.
That's a
Yeah,
good shout.
I think that's very fair.
Come on, Games Workshop. Don't be rubbish. Anyway, that is just some ruminations on what's going on in the Games Workshop world. There's a couple of bits of news I want to show off with you. I'm afraid I've not had a lot of time, so I've been a bad host and not done a very good job with the show notes. But Bruty is wrapping up part 2 of his absolutely fantastic vampire team. And vampires dropped last week, obviously, and I printed out a Brute Fun team, got them primed, ready to go, and then got the call from Pete saying, hey, vampires are here, so grab the Games Workshop team. So I have got my Brute Fun team, my Brute Fun vampire team on the go. Now, the cool thing what Brute Fun's doing here is he's adding enough positionals so that you can also run the team as humans,
That's
which
cool.
is brilliant.
Nice.
Because you've got such a good choice there and I love the Luther model.
Yeah, his Luther is phenomenal.
And I need to print a couple of these gargoyles out and put them on the side of the studio. So if you're in the market for new teams, keep an eye on this because Brute Fun's wrapping up with vampires, so they'll be available soon. And if you want a human team or a vampire team and you don't want to go Games Workshop, then definitely go Brute Fun. And I think we got a chance to show off the Brute Fun Bat Ogre on stream because we used that instead of the Forge World one because it's significantly easier than waiting for Forge World. I love it, and it's so good. So
Really nice.
yeah, Bruty's doing some good stuff there. Have you guys seen the Punga release?
I love this.
How cool is this? They're right. So they have gone with a Necro team, but it is a Halloween themed Necro team. It's a pumpkin themed Halloween team
The
with
pumpkin heads.
some significant Necron vibes. I don't know whether it's just this guy's
Necron vibe.
yeah, the face,
The flayed
face,
one. Yeah, it's a flayed one head. Yeah,
and with
yeah.
old Spikes McGee on the right hand side there with his fists. I'm like, this is like a team of flayed ones, but with a Kroot in the background. This guy here, I was like, oh, it's Kroot.
Oh, yeah.
This team's looking really, really cool. So they got Necro, you got a Ghoul, you got a bunch of zombies, you've got a Golem. I don't. Is that also a Ghoul in the background? I probably
I think
should have
so.
paid attention to this. So obviously, the way Punga do things, they release their team in kind of parts. So part 1 is up now, and part 2 will probably finish the team next month, which is very cool.
What, I mean, the creepiest thing about them is the color. Like that render of the green with the orange edges. Like, what even is that? It's really weird. It's so jarring.
It's like reverse verdigris, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easily doable, right? Paint your model green and then dry brush it like a rusty brown.
Yeah. I actually quite like to see them like that.
Oh,
Make
Actually,
them look
yeah.
horrifying.
and that would be an absolute doddle to paint.
You could probably do it with Riser Rust. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I think
dry brush rusty paint from GW.
I think prime brown, kind of heavy dry brush green onto where you want color, but kind of like wet brush, kind of like scumbling the paint on, and then dry brush with the brown over the top, and then obviously Agrax. You'll have your team done in like 7 minutes. It's cool. It's cool. They've done a cool design aesthetic there from Punga, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this, I don't think. But the Ugni chaps have brewed up a fairy themed wood elf team. Now,
I really like this.
I've printed off some of the models, and there's some bits that are actually quite finicky on them. A lot of the guys have like wings, which you got to be careful. Now, the beautiful thing about this is there's a Blood Bowl team, so you only really need a couple of them, which is wonderful. But they've got this kind of tree fairy aesthetic where you've clearly got elves doing elf things, but you've got like semi-dryad legs and stuff mixed in with them, and it's a really, really, really cool design aesthetic. You've still got that traditional Ugni kind of sketchy style to it, like sketchy as in artisty, not buy a PlayStation 5 in a car park, but it still looks really, really, really cool. And I'm not sure if we've had a chance to talk about it on the podcast. I especially love the big tree lad in the back there.
Yeah, I really trypophobia warning as well for some people. I really love this team. I used the Lost Kingdom miniatures war dancers for my College of Life team, and their whole team for Lost Kingdom, they've got like a full Wood Elf army replacement, and it's all kind of like insectoid fairy themed Wood Elves. It's very much this kind of design style, and it kind of combines fairy, insects, and Japan in an aesthetic, in a Wood Elf aesthetic, which sounds bizarre, but it works. And so I'm all on board with this.
This is perfect for a College of Life team,
this.
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It is. I think I'm probably going to make this my Wood Elf team.
Oh, dude, I would love to see you paint this team. What are the Age of Sigmar things? Spike Revenants?
Yeah.
This is that, but as a Blood Bowl team.
For sure.
Which I think is really, 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 really cool. And they've just released part 2. So both the parts, oh my goodness me. The internet in the New Forest is just tragic. It's just, I'm having a really tough week trying to do anything at all. Right, yeah. So part 2, I'm not sure which one's part 1, part 2, because I've not done one, but you've got a willow there with the little roses in the hair. That's pretty cool. You've got the referee with the head of Orion. Looks like a wild hunter. You got the cheerleaders. This will be part 2 then. Yeah, really impressed. I mean, I love the Ugni stuff. The OWA team that's definitely going on my paint list. As I will have all of the time in the world for that soon, apparently. Then I think the last bit of news, that I wanted to talk about today is, talking of Slan, Realm of Paths, the guys who did that epic Tomb King team, have gone Space Frogs. And it is not bad at all. They have gone for the heavy frog aesthetic, which makes sense. The tough thing about Slan teams is that the Punga one is literally perfect. I don't know how you could get a better one than that one. And this is good. They're kind of like a little bit snakier than froggier, which is a cool way to go. But hey, it's good to have options.
I really like them. I think they are kind of more dynamic than the Punga team.
They've got a real Amazon frog feel to them.
Yeah, the big guy's awesome here.
They look a bit more like the old art of the Slan.
Yes, they do actually, like the old first and second edition art.
Yeah, I think they're a bit more true to that. Obviously, like all of the Punga stuff has a sort of cartoony kind of Warcrafty vibe going on, which I love personally. But
yeah,
I think this is probably more true to the sort of classic Blood Bowl aesthetic. I can see the appeal.
You know what they say, more Blood Bowl is more better. Now, I've not checked Kickstarter. I'm sure if we've got some cool Kickstarters going around, we'll feature them on the channel. But I think, unless anyone else has got some news, time to talk a little bit of hobby. Okay, so hobby games, painting, purchasing, priming. What have we all been up to? I know you've been smashing out some Blood Bowl 3, Milton. Trips. You've been to club?
I've been to club twice since we last recorded, so
I find your games.
Let's go back to last week. So having had Rich in week 1, I am obviously serving another Blood Bowl penalty, and I drew Saxby number 2 in week 2 and had the joys of Killer Randall playing Dark Elves. So really interested to see Randall play Dark Elves because he played them like he plays other Blood Bowl teams, which is smash, crash, and a one-die block is a good thing.
Now, Killer Randall is a phenomenal Chorf player.
Yeah.
So to see him switch over to Dark Elves, especially with a Dark Elf roster that is very, very, very unusual.
Yes. Especially when you look at the number of rerolls he took.
One
That's
reroll,
amazing.
2 Witch Elves, 2 Runners, and I believe at one point he may have had 2 Blitzers.
I think he started with the 1.
Just started with a 1.
Wow.
That was all he could afford.
This is interesting. He's
Yeah.
carved his own path here.
He did. So a typical game against Killer Randall, I started with some inducements and I took Max as my star player. And I was receiving the kickoff and Randall got a blitz, got Max off the pitch, and Max never returned to the game, despite being a successful argue the ref. Later in the game, he decided to fail his knockout roll for the entirety of the game. So he did not do anything.
Trips.
That was pretty spectacular. Tight first half. I managed to score. Randall managed to kick me all over the place. And then second half, he actually started to fail some dice rolls. So managed to sneak a 2-0 win with a second score in turn 16.
It looks terribly like you murdered, death, killed one of his blitzers, Trips.
I might not break a loss of armor, but every once in a while I have managed to kill a player or two. So
your big boy was out for this game, wasn't he?
Yeah, my Bloodspawn was missing, having been fouled off by the Halfling the week before. So I had 3 Bloodseekers, a Corn Dog, and the rest were linemen for the game. So,
but still coming away with a 2-0 win.
Yeah.
And then you got rewarded by dwarves.
I went from that to dwarfs last night, which I must say I was delighted to see the amount of block that the dwarves bought. And I played Sam last night with his dwarfs, and he literally took every block he could all night long. And
it's not a bad way to play dwarves.
No, and I don't think he failed a 2 dice uphill all night.
Love it.
Punching like a gutter.
Pretty annoying. And it was a really tough game. The Bloodspawn started quite well, turn 1, and then he decided to spend most of the first half kicking the Bloodspawn on the ground to make sure he didn't stand up again. I started running out of players because I didn't really have many knockouts, but I think I ended up with 4 or 5 in the casualty box at the end of the game. So was in trouble with numbers. So scored a touchdown in turn 6, I think, in the first half, and managed to not allow him to score before half time. Half time was huge as neither of his knockouts came back. And the Bloodspawn, who had been knocked out, decided to get back up and have an outrageously great second half, deciding that claws really were the thing to use against dwarfs. So managed to break his line of scrimmage pretty early and chase him from behind. Due to the Bloodspawn chasing the ball carrier, he actually took the dwarf dodge and double rush to score a touchdown to make it 1-1.
That's some pressure. Well done.
But that gave me 4 turns then to run in for the 2-1, and I think we both. I think he only had 1 dwarf standing up in the last 2 turns, so I was able to push him around, use the Bloodspawn to create a huge goal gap, and run in for the 2-1.
Huge. Right, how's the team looking then, Trips?
So that last night's game was the first game for my 4th Bloodseeker, and of course I instantly lost 1 for another game. I lost a lineman last night to a death as well. So I've got one of my Bloodseekers has got block. I got block on the Corn Gore as well because he's been scoring the touchdowns, although he was by far and away my most reliable blitzer last night. And I'm getting close to some other skill ups, but I really need a team that's got low armor to casualty against because
Ooh, maybe we need to get a game in against my vampire team.
I would quite happily eat a few Scooby Snack rolls to do that. But I'm 3 games in. Admittedly, I think I've played a game more than most of the league, but I'm quite happy with my position in the league and have taken a screenshot to at least console me for the rest
Lock
of the
it
year.
in.
Yeah, I did see that. That's very, very, very cool. So I've not had a chance to get any Blood Bowl in. We did do the live stream on Thursday, which was wicked. I'm on holiday with Tiff next week. It's our anniversary, Tiff's birthday, and we're going to use it as an opportunity to get away for a few days and do like a little baby moon before our little one arrives. Trips terrified the heck out of me yesterday. And I was like, oh man, can you believe it's October? And Trips was like, yeah, if your baby's a little early, you could be a dad next month. At which time I was just absolutely tilted by, like, I just sat in a cold sweat and looked at all the stuff I still had left to do. And I was like, oh no. Oh no.
He's not wrong.
I know. The power of maths was the bit that terrified me. We got our due dates the 16th of December, so she's a little over 2 weeks early. It will be next month that we have the baby, and the shed is not quite finished. I tell you what though, it is not far off. I've got a bit more paneling to do, like the insulation's all on there, the floor's basically finished. So absolutely over the moon with that. So I was talking to Brute Fun about it this morning, and I sort of said, actually, I think we'll probably be there by the end of next week. Like just do some more paneling. I've already got a plan. I've got the parts for the overhead camera rigging, and it was so useful having that stream last week. It's a shame we couldn't get the studio up and running for that one, but actually that was mega useful. I even got the dice cam out yesterday to see how high I could put the dice cam with it zooming in on the dice and everything, and actually 7-8 feet is fine. So the overhead railing with the dice cam means we never have to worry about that, so we've got that flex in, and yeah, so I'm really hoping that Tiff and I are away for a few days, and then when we get back I can just spend a couple of days just finishing off the studio, because the printer shed turned up yesterday as well, which is cool.
Nice.
I didn't have to take it off the lorry myself this time, so that was very, very, very nice. The bloke just turned up and was like, hi, where do you want it? Do you want it there against the wall where the polystyrene is? I was like, yes, that is perfect. He said, no worries, come back in 10 minutes. Okay, cheers. And he unloaded it for me. It was absolutely magic. Much less miserable when the barn turned up and the bloke was like, here you go.
On your driveway, have fun.
Yeah, it's like, okay, cheers. So that's good. So if I can get the studio done next week and then start working on the printer shed, that means we can get the spare room sorted. That also means we can get the studio up and running, which is a massive win. And I guarantee you, as soon as I'm in the studio, the baby will arrive. But I'm very excited for that. I'm not gonna lie though, the looming prospect of that with work, it's just, I'm staring into a bit of an abyss at the moment, where I'm like, well,
take it off.
It's kind of like, hey, I'm not gonna be here soon, and you seem to need me a lot right now. Would you like to give me someone to pass this over to? Like, is anyone gonna look after these projects while I'm on? And they're like, yeah,
they'll be fine, Ben. Don't take it all on yourself. They'll be fine.
I don't know, Ben.
Can you not just leave them with a spreadsheet?
Yeah, they've managed up till now.
Everything I do is spreadsheets. Well, yeah, but they never used to do this stuff. No, what I intend to do is training videos, because we've got a great setup which to do training videos. It would just be nice to be like, I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to go, and because I can't have the anxiety. Like my last 2-week holiday, both Mondays I ended up on a call first thing because they were like, we don't know where this is or how this works, and I'm like, okay, let me show you. And I mentioned it to someone at work, and they were like, yeah, if they do that while you're on paternity, because the government's paying for you a bit, it's actually illegal. I was like, well,
You call it a keeping in touch day.
you cannot take those within the first 14 weeks of any parental leave.
Well, yeah, you can't take them. You just claim them later on in the paternity leave.
Oh, don't put ideas.
No,
in
no, no. I'm only taking 14 weeks of parental leave.
Oh, there you go.
So it cannot, the reason I know that is because I was looking at the keeping in touch days, because you get paid the keeping in touch days as additional. And I was like, woohoo, overtime. This would be cool. I'm not allowed overtime. Not been allowed overtime for years. This would be a great way to get a few extra days in by just going in and having a coffee with someone in Bracknell. Can't do that. So, I mean, I'll just take my 14 weeks off, and I'm very happy about it. So, yeah.
Take it off and make sure, hey everyone, welcome to, hey everyone, Ben here from JLP. Welcome to episode 3 of Super Training Series.
I did this for one of my projects before and sent it up the chain, and realized that I thought it was really good. And then my director got the feedback of like, yeah, loved the video, really good from Ben. I especially loved the bit where he dropped the F-bomb. And I was like, oh no, I screwed up the editing, and like I had started it off and been like, no, that's no effing good, and didn't edit out, and then sent it forward, and they loved it. I was like, okay, cool.
Everyone loves the blooper.
Yeah, well, I did that in one of our videos, didn't I? Because
oh yeah,
it's quite good fun. So yeah, that's what's going on. I'm hoping the studio will be up and running soon. Then the stadium build begins. We've got a whole bunch of not print pitches, but the paint the crowds to open. And what I want to do is an unboxing, so I can be like, hey, this one came in from this person. These are the models we've got. This one came in from this person, and I can like unbox them all and be like, this is what we've got, and then start building up the stadium. I'm just proper excited for that. So it's a very exciting few weeks coming up. It's just a very, very stressful, long day one, but hey, comes and goes, doesn't it? Last week was pretty awesome. I got to paint a vampire team and hang about online with Trips and Ian. So it's like, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But yeah, that's me. How about BT? Any cool hobby or job?
I had a league game as well. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. You did?
Yeah. I'll talk about that first. Won't go too long. Had a game against Ian Skaven, his Undercity Warp Fires.
Oh yes.
Honestly, this was one of the best games of Blood Bowl I've ever had. But both me and Ian have said this, where we were just like, this was like, if you could show someone a game of Blood Bowl and be like, this is what the game is like, it would be this. It was so back and forth. We did a bit of everything. There was passing, there was deflecting, intercepting, there was really like stupid stretch plays. Like we both did a play which was like pick up 4+ throw into, and we both failed our ones into the end zone. And yeah, it was perfect. Like I just had a lot of fun. It ended up being a 2-1. I did a good job of keeping his rat ogre off the pitch. I kept knocking him out, and he kept coming back and getting locked out immediately by my blitzers, which was good because I had enough of rat ogres Skaven in the World Cup. I didn't want to deal with it. I don't have rerolls, so I don't. Yeah, so yeah, no, it was just really good. It was just gutters do their thing, and he was able to sneak that towards the end after I failed my 2-1 win. Rolled the one on the dodge, and then he got the ball back to the other end of the pitch and got a touchdown. So could have gone either way. So that's why I really like this game.
It's the lowest scoring Skaven's game I've seen in a while. So your defense is on point. I love Ian's names for his guys are great.
Turn, his offensive drive, it got to his final turn before, and then had to make a 4+, 3+2+ to score, which he did. But I was just like, yeah, I can't really argue with that. Like that's as good as you can get with Skaven, really. So.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. There's always a 4+ touchdown somewhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works. In fact, 50% of the time, it works all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. How's the team shaping up? Was this game 1 for you, Ben, or game 2?
This was game 1. Yeah, I had a couple of injuries. Fortunately, only linemen. Low rolled a bit on the MVPs. Like I've got a blitzer who's one off because he got the interception or the interference with an MVP. And yeah, my thrower did get 3 completions in that game though, so that's a nice little boost. And I got a lineman with a touchdown as well. So. Yeah. I'd rather have the touchdown on a blitz or a catcher, but the lineman was in range, so he's the one I threw it to.
He's not taken a random general yet. That's interesting. You
No,
you doing
I'm not
this
risking it.
properly? You're doing this properly.
They're so expensive. They're so expensive. I feel like the skills that they have need to be the right skills.
Shadowing. Yeah, that's fair.
I'll save up. I'll get kick or something, and it'll be fine.
Ooh, I do like kick.
And we've got a real range of teams in the league because we've got about half the league is returning teams, so they're all about 1200, 1250 TV. So
Yeah,
skills need to be in the right place.
yeah, absolutely. It's a bit risky to start rolling generals.
Yeah, James and his blimmin' death roller.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
I'm terrified of
tough
them.
again.
Oh, yeah, he is. But it's a death roller, so it's just giving.
I mean, if you look at James's last game he had yesterday, it's just foul with the death roller.
I mean,
pretty grim.
with Dirty Player
Yeah.
+2, it's decent, and Dwarves
Pretty good.
start brewing up some guard early on, and that's.
I think he made 2 argular calls against Phil with his slan. Yeah,
that
which
does happen.
brilliant.
Oh, he took Drool and Dribble. Oh, good lad.
Yeah, he's enjoyed him. He took him last night as well.
Yeah,
He
Drool
two
and,
kings for them.
Drool and Dribble with Slan is yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, but with hobby, or as you said, now it is job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm now full time with Brush Tithe, which is good.
Ooh.
Finished on Friday with my software job, and yeah, I've just been starting this week full time, which has been awesome. Never been happier, and the amount of support that I've had from people and messages and things has been great. So yeah, in a very good, very happy place at the moment, and it's very fun to paint all day and then paint all evening as well because I need to do my team for the Full Beard Cup at Nottingham. So got my corn team on the go as well.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so good to hear, man. I've been excited for you to start that properly.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's good. I mean, there's a bit of a wait now. So if you do want to get a team in, hey, little sponsor segment, only 2 seconds. Brushtide.com. But yeah, it is like I'm projected into like the end of January now. So
that's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I knew you'd do well, but I also kind of thought, it's fine. Like, I need teams. So if Ben's like, it's a bit quiet this month, I can just be like, no worries. Like, here, I'll chuck a team in. No, it's like June. No, that's absolutely awesome, man. Hopefully you've not taken on so much work you won't get a nice Christmas break, because Christmas is also literally just around the corner.
Yeah, no, should be fine. But I'm in with doing this, it's like work is fun. So I don't really want all that time out and stuff now, because it's just like I'd do it anyway because it's fun. So yeah,
that's so wicked.
I'm feeling good.
And Milt, could you top that?
No, I definitely can't top that. But it's been a tough week, as you may have heard at the beginning.
Yeah, those games are the Orcs, right?
Yeah. So I've played my 6 games in Blood Bowl 3, which have been admittedly quite fun. Hobby. I haven't really done much. Like, I haven't played tabletop in a while. I have done my roster for Bonehead Bowl.
Yes.
We should be checking it for legality.
Yeah.
Milton's come with 17
I'm quite
primes.
happy to discuss my roster on the premise that I'm playing and I get to see everyone else's.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point.
Can you imagine?
It's 4 weeks this Saturday.
Yeah,
I've not gamed it. I promise. I'm not going to change it at the last minute and be like,
it's optimized to fight any single one.
yeah.
There's not a weak link in there.
Round
I've put
fixing.
them all through. I've put them all through ChatGPT and asked it to tell me what the most efficient counter roster is.
Did ChatGPT suggest Orcs by any chance?
Yeah, no, it was right up there. So no, I will be running my Orcs with Snotling. Be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I was really confused by that. I was just like, Orcs or something? Oh yeah, no, it's mixed, isn't it?
It's mixed
Yeah.
teams. So I'm assuming that means 3 trolls, Milt.
Yeah. What?
Oh, you're doing
Who would
Bonehead
ever
Bowl
run
wrong.
No, I've just really been enjoying playing my Orcs again. It's been a long time since I've played them. I've taken like a good year and a bit sort of hiatus from them because I played them so much before. And I've been playing Chaos, I've been playing Slan, I've been playing a few other, I played Underworld for a little bit. And I've come back to my Orcs, and it's just so comfortable to play. I just really enjoy the games. It's just the play style where I'm like really, like I know what I'm doing. I don't feel like panicked. I know exactly where I've gone right and where I've gone wrong. And I find myself like easily learning from it. Whereas like with the other teams that I've played, I always just kind of just get a bit frustrated. I don't know why it is so specifically with the Orcs, but no, I'm looking forward to playing them again on tabletop. Even
And hey, if we learn anything from Underworld, just adding snotlings to a team makes them overpowered.
makes them
I think
better.
it's a very good idea to run them as snotlings.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I just didn't want to have to pay another team. So,
That's fair.
That is a very solid strat. No, wicked. Look, it's so good. There's loads of games, loads of hobby. This is an absolute golden age. But the most exciting thing is that you've got vampire teams to build. And I think it's time to talk about vampires. Okay, so vampires. If you want to see them in action, go watch our live stream from last week. We saw Trips running Skaven. And it was interesting because for the first few turns, Trips, you could see that you were kind of emotionally torn about running Skaven. And then you settled in. It was quite fun, actually. Me kind of watching, I could see you like feel uncomfortable. And then you really got into it. It's kind of like a dad at a disco. It was like, oh, I feel weird about being happy. I feel weird about that dad. Like, you know, the first time I went to see a musical at the Mayflower. You know, we went to see Les Mis, and I was sitting there feeling like, well, this is awfully happy, isn't it? And this is all like this. And then I got very excited, and you know, now I'm Shafar.
I was going to say, sorry, Ian's camera looks a bit like a dad at this go.
Literally. But no, that was quite fun to see. But we had Ian Warhammer running the vampire roster, and we gave him one of everything. We got the Vargolf, we got the thrower, we got the blitzer, and we got the runner all on the pitch. 3 rerolls, 8 thralls, because we wanted to see each of the positionals. There's some and ahhing about the Vargolf being great, but it was awesome to see every one of the positionals on the pitch, along with the new rule for Bloodlust. And I think we start off by talking about Bloodlust. I'm not going to bother reading out the rule because we've covered it a lot. But basically, there's a nega trait. It's called Bloodlust X+. Most of them are 2+. The Blitzer and the Beast Boy, the Bat Ogre, are 3+. If you're blocking or blitzing, you get to add +1. You roll the test. If you fail the test at the end of your activation, you have to be in base contact. You don't have to be, but if you're in base contact with a thrall, you can bite them. It goes straight through your armor, and it's straight to either stunned, KO, or casualty. If you don't bite anybody, it's a turnover. If you pass the Bloodlust, you do whatever the heck you like as normal. So it's kind of like Bonehead, but manageable a little bit. And it was really interesting to see because the last few years, vampires have been running out animal savagery, which is really an interesting rule, but I don't know. This fits better. They're vampires. They get Bloodlust. They want blood. They take blood. Then they go on their merry little way. So my first question to you guys is, having seen or played it with or against vampires now, the new Bloodlust rule, is it better than animal savagery?
Yes.
Yeah, 100% yes.
All right, next episode. Yeah. I mean, Trips, you got to play against them. And this is the thing I really want to pick your brains on here. And is playing against them. From what I saw, you tuned into how vampires played in the second half. So you played against them very differently than the first half. Did Bloodlust play out on the pitch the way you expected it to, or is this something that ended up feeling different as the game went on?
I think as the opposing coach, Bloodlust is one of those things that you're aware it's going to upset your opponent. It's not really going to influence your play much. It's really how much they'll get to do in their turn. I think for me, the big influence was going, because of Bloodlust, every vampire is tied to can only go where the thralls will be. So I turned the second half into, well, you can only A, go where your thralls are if they're standing up, and B, if they're not, if they're still standing up, if I can mark them, then you're not going anywhere very quickly.
Now, just to clarify, that you can bite a prone or stunned thrall, but the point there is that for mobility's sake, you mark a thrall, you smack a thrall down, or a vampire eats a thrall, it means that the vampire can't progress any further than their furthest most thrall, because if they fail Bloodlust, they can't score. And if they don't end up next to the thrall, it's going to be a turnover. So what you're describing there, Trips, like basing the thralls, because they're Edge 3+. Like, the thralls are good, but they're not great. 3+ dodge with no rerolls is a bad dodge. Ben, it's a bad dodge. 3+ Skaven dodges all the time, but it's something that's another chance. And the thing with Bloodlust that I think is absolutely massive, and in my mind played out, no, I don't want to say worse, but definitely, that's more impactful than I first thought, was Animal Savagery. You smack a dude, you roll armor, they're prone, sometimes they're all right, and they get back up again that very same turn and they're fine. Bloodlust, you bite a thrall, the best you got is a stunned thrall, and they're out for all of this turn, and then you're rolling over next turn, so you're out a turn and a half of thrall because they lose 3 movement, and it feels absolutely massive.
Just don't fail Bloodlust, and you're fine though, right? That's where I see it.
That is so much it. When you don't fail it, that you've got so much freedom with the vampires, and also choosing when you don't mind failing it. So it is very valid to do the thing you want to do with the vampire at the very end of the turn and go, cool.
Oh.
And for the majority of the team, it's no worse than an ogre's bonehead, right?
It depends on whether you're running the blitzer or not. And it was interesting to see on the stream that Ian Warhammer definitely tried to avoid, and you could see him kind of wincing when he had to move his 3+ pieces. It was kind of like, I need to move the blitzer.
Just move him last.
Well, no. But the point is, if you've got a vampire, if you've got a blitzer on the pitch and you need that blitzer to do something like pick up the ball or hand off the ball,
right, okay.
It is kind of like, okay, I'm
think,
going to lose a thrall when I activate.
I think the blitz is like a liability. Yeah, I like. I've said early on with like the Vargeist, I think he's insanely good because for one, it's +1 to animal savagery on moving anyway. And then you don't need someone next to you, so he doesn't need to be babysat. You're guaranteed to be able to move him every turn if you don't get stupid turnovers throughout the turn. But you can just easily move him. Like, you can just take the turnover at the end. Like, he doesn't get stranded like other big guys can get. And yeah, I just think he's phenomenal. And I don't see this. I mean, I didn't play the game, but I don't see this rule as being that hindering compared to some other nega traits, and the fact it's 3+ on a big guy as well. It's like a lot better.
So you're bang on. It's not as hindering, and it feels so much. It feels so much different. This feels so much better designed. Like Bonehead, Animal Savage, or whatever. I just don't get to use this piece. With Bloodlust, I think just like you said, Ben, you will always get to use your piece. It's just you got to sequence it right, or it will end your turn, which can be worse or can be better. But in your example there of the Vargulf, and you saw this from Warhammer as he went into the second half, very much a case of like, I'll take the turnover. Like, I'm not going to bite a guy, I'll just take a turnover. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson I came away from that video is sometimes it's better to take the turnover. Like, you prioritize the stuff you need to do first, and you accept the fact that if your thrower loses his beans and bites a thrall, he's going to have to do that. That's fine. But then you take the blitz or the block with one of your angry boys, actually do that last if you don't need to punch a hole, and just take the turnover. Because I would much rather have a Vargulf standing next to a thrall who's also standing, but my turn's over, than having 10 players on the pitch for 2 turns.
I mean, he doesn't have a tackle zone, so he can just move away from the Vargulf, but it's still fine. He's still there.
Yeah, but if you've got the thrall next to him, I'd rather have two players there ready to go next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I like as well, like you can just change your action. Like if you go for a block, you just like, oh shoot, I failed Bloodlust. Well, I'll just dodge away and go buy a thrall then and progress the ball a different way. Like I think there's so much flexibility in this nega trait which others don't have. Like others, it's just like you have to do this. You failed. Okay, tough. Good luck. But like this one, it's just like you have options. Like you can buy it thrall, you can take a turnover, you can change your action, you can still do a blitz, you can do a move if you want, and
it's a nice
you don't
way,
have to score with them. Like so, yeah,
it's a nice way to mitigate that failure, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
exactly what you said. Like, oh guys, we've all been there, right? The troll. I've rolled really stupid. That's my turnover. Like I needed the troll to throw a guy. Like
it's basically turnover anyway.
It's like, yeah, exactly, right. Well, actually, with this, you get the options. So it was really interesting to see that. Now, I think we'll talk about the different positionals, and the one we're definitely going to start with is the thrower, because I love the thrower, and in that game, he felt brilliant. He wasn't Griff. He's not fast enough to be game changing, but he will basically always have a good dodge. He will always have a good block, and he will always have a good throw. And that is just very good, and also very annoying trips. I don't know, you only had one thrower to play against. I wholeheartedly recommend and expect all other vampire rosters to have two throwers, because they are just miles better than any other positional around there. But when you were playing against the thrower, were you cognizant of the fact that he was just an annoying slow Griff most of the time?
Oh, absolutely, because he's when Ian was on offense, when he has the ball, there is very little. It's just like Griff, very little he can't do, and it all becomes about what he's going to do and how he does it. It became my sort of single goal to track him down with a rat ogre to try and get rid of him. And I think if you've got two vampire throwers, that is going to really give you lots of flexibility to what you do, because you can grind the ball, you can pass the ball, you can hand it off and run around like a mad idiot. It's going to give you so much flexibility, and you just cannot pick him off either, because he's got base strength 4.
We were talking about how good strength 4 players are earlier. So yeah, I think a pair of throwers are almost ubiquitous for vampires. They've got the best bloodlust and they've got the best stat line. I just think they're phenomenal. So we went into the game expecting the vampire thrower to be good, because he's basically a vampire of old, but better. The one we were interested by is the blitzer. Now, the only difference in these two players is that the blitzer doesn't have a good passing, he doesn't have pass, he has Juggernaut instead, and Bloodlust 3+. And it was really interesting to see. I mean, guys, you know this, like, a 2+ pass is automatic. A 2+ dodge is automatic, right? A 3+ dodge is something you don't ever take. Yes, I know, Ben. But, generally speaking, it's kind of like, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know about this. And kind of the activating the Bloodlust, it really came into it, because 2+ to keep yourself mobile is fine, but the 3+ brings you into that kind of risk-reward range. Juggernaut, I don't know if we really saw that do anything at all, but that may have been because the Vargolf was already there. But I think Jugs is...
It's a really weird one, isn't it?
It's just very situational, isn't it?
For me, the blitzer, it's very strange. Like, normally when I look at a team, the blitzer's the positional that stands out to me, because often they're like at the forefront, they're doing blocks, they're potentially carrying the ball, all of these things. When I looked at the vampire blitzer stats, I was like, well, the 3+ bloodlust, as Ben said a minute ago, it's kind of makes them a bit of a liability. And then when you put Juggernaut on it, which isn't so appealing, and then you look at the cost, and it's the same cost as what you just got for that thrower. Yeah, not quite as appealing, are they?
Not as appealing. Still very good. Like,
yeah,
it's still very good. It is just, you've got this thrower, and it is kind of like, Trips, you're an NFL fan. You look at all these teams with tier 2 quarterbacks, and you're like, hey, yeah, he's a good quarterback. And then you've got, like, Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's Josh Allen, Cam Newton in his prime.
Right? And you've just got those guys, and then you've got somebody else, and it's just like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you per se. Like, you're a good player, you're just not as good as the thrower. And I think potentially
You're taking them.
the thrower might be
Sorry.
undercosted.
I was going to say, you're taking them for strength access, right? Like,
Mm.
that's when you'd need these. If you're having a roster, you're like, okay, I want some guard, I want some mighty blow, whatever. Like, that's what you were taking these guys for. And even
And
like with like stick strip ball on them on tackle, and you got quite a decent sacker as well. So
I do really like the idea of strip ball on this blitzer in concert with hypno gaze from any one of the interesting, any of the other vampires wandering up. Hypno gaze 2+ the corner off vampire blitzer. He's got strip ball with jugs, wanders in there, 2-die block. You're looking for double skulls, otherwise that ball is coming out, and that is where this guy shines. And that's where that 3+ becomes 2+ anyway, because you're blitzing, and Juggernaut becomes a benefit of a free skill. Now, we've seen Games Workshop do this a lot recently. I mean, you've got jugs on the corn dogs, right, Trips? It's kind of like,
Yep.
here's a free skill. It's not optimal, but you've got it. And sometimes it's going to be great, and it's down to you to kind of find a way to take that free skill and make it add value. And it's an interesting one. And this one, you know, the Vampire Blitzer, core stat line, cool. Jugs might do nothing, but is there to be built upon. And I think there's a massive boon there. Ultimately, it's an armor 9 strength 4 piece that, generally speaking, on a 2+ is going to punch anyone you want. And if you fail that roll, he's still going to punch you whoever you want. It's just going to be the end of the turn afterwards, no matter what happens. And that's still pretty great. I mean, any more thoughts on what we saw out of the Vampire Blitzer?
I think for me, the Vampire Blitzer and the Vargeist, they're competing for a roster spot, particularly when you start, because they do very similar things and they have the same issues.
I concur wholeheartedly. So move on to the Vargeist. Ben, you were more right on the Vargeist than I was. I was concerned about the Bloodlust. I was concerned about it causing and forcing you to have turnovers. Oh dear. Oh, internet's going squiffy. But he was great. He was really great.
Yeah.
Especially when Ian started realizing that he could just take the turnover. And I mean, yeah, okay, sure, the guy boneheads, but I mean, that's fine. Trips, tell me your thoughts on the
never
Varg.
run a vampire team without a Vargeist. Having seen him play like that, he is just good. And from the experience I've had of having a Bloodspawn as well, having a strength 5 claws and frenzy piece with armor 10, that's very forgiving. That's a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be really useful. You don't need him to skill up. A little bit of skilling up will be amazing. He will absolutely change how your opponent plays, and for me, he really did. You've really got to be careful with where he is, because you just know he can really make a mess of your team very quickly, and he doesn't need a lot of friends to do it, because as Ian started to do, you just use him at the end of your turn and you go, pale bloodlust, so be it.
Yeah.
It's your turn anyway.
It's nice to see the armor 10+, because like every other aggressive big guy's armor 9+, right? Like Mino, Ratoga,
Yep.
Yeti. Yeah,
with
it's all 9+.
regen as well, Ben.
Yeah, 10+ with regen. Like, he sticks around in league. Get one of these guys off the bat, and he's going to probably skill up pretty quick with claws and frenzy. So,
Yeah, I think Trips, you're right. I think the Varg is amusingly, despite being a big guy, he's not a big guy. He's got Loner 4+. That's the nega trait here. Otherwise, Bloodlust is the same as the rest of your team. So he's not really a big guy. He's just a strength 5 vampire. And the Vargeist, having essentially the same nega trait difficulty as the Juggernaut boy, he's just better. He's a little bit more expensive, but he's strength 5 and he comes with claws and frenzy. And quite frankly, if I'm going to go cage diving, where there is no cage because I've hypno-gazed it off, I cannot think of anything I'd rather hit a ball carrier with than a frenzy strength 5 dude. Because I think that's going to be phenomenal. If you get a mid-range team caging up, you wander up, you hypno-gaze, you're going to set a corner on blitz with the Vargeist. Vargeist's in the middle of your defense. 5 squares is not a lot of squares, sure, but you will be able to hit that ball carrier, and it's going to be a massive hit. So I think you're right. I think the Varg is I think the Varg is phenomenal. It's beautifully done. But the most interesting piece, so the biggest surprise for me was the Varg being as good as it was. But the biggest surprise was the Vampire, the runner, and the Vampire on the Vampire team. Yeah, the biggest surprise was the runner, because I see this piece, I'm like, strength 3, edge 2+, movement 8, cool, we've got an elf catcher here. Would you say I was wrong if I said that, yeah, the Vampire runner is movement 8, but really, she's movement 6?
I'd say you're wrong.
So I'd say there's a lot of the time when she's movement 6 because of the tying to your thralls, unless, and this is something you're definitely gonna see, you've got to play chess with your thralls and almost work on the basis that you have to send some down the pitch, because when your vampires break a hole, you need them to be there because you can't have them moving at the same time. So I think when you've got the thralls in the right place, that movement is going to be really handy. When you're in a line, you're tied to the movement 6.
So in my mind, like, and this is purely from theory from not playing them, but like, I mean, could you not, like, I think you've got to play them where you're not trying to rely on like the scoring on turn 8 plan. Like, in terms of like aggressive scoring, you just sort of delay it a turn if they don't do it right. And like, it's a 2+. Like, there's a lot of teams where you just need to roll a 2+ to do the thing you need to do. Like, if it's a rush, if it's dodging, like if it's just blocking, like blitzing or something, it's usually a 2+.
One of those where, it is a 2+, but I mean, how many times does the one rush in the game that you fail is the rush into?
Yeah, but this one's not a turnover.
Yeah,
because you just don't do it. But you just don't do it. You just decide, oh no, okay, I won't score yet. Whereas there's some teams where it's just like, I need a 2+ to score, and you do it because it's like your only chance. But vampires are so forgiving, and like you can move your I don't know. I find from in my mind, I'm just like, these are still movement 8. Like what is it 84% of the time? What's the maths again on the 6?
Yeah.
So it's like,
5 times out of 6, they're good to go. It's just you kind of movement 8 gives you a ton of range, and the surprise for me was like, okay, let's think of some movement 8 pieces. Movement 8 or movement 9, you've got gutters, you've got war dancers, you've got werewolves, you've got elven catchers, and they are excellent at patrolling. Okay, they're great as being deep scoring threats, kind of on their own, or deep safeties, kind of on their own. And the vampire runner with that movement 8, you got to forget. I think you got to treat it like it's a movement 6 player, but every now and again you get that extra range to redeploy in your mid zone or go for the stretch play when it's really necessary. You just can't range them on their own. Now, the vampire runner, I don't think is going to be a super scoring threat all of the time. My feeling with this positional is you've got the extra range. It's going to work out, like Ben said, 5 times out of 6, it's going to be fine. But that one time they're going to turn over and drop the ball, which is going to be a significant issue if there's no one to bite. But comboing that movement 8 with Hypno Gaze on 2+ on the corner of a cage, that 8 gives you so much range. And if that is still in the combat zone, the vampire runner here is not the superstar war dancer gutter runner scorer. They are the ultimate combo piece for vampire teams. They are support. This is the support piece. The runner takes away the tackle zone, and your other guy hits it, and then on the following turn, it gives you another 2+ bloodlust, 2+ edge, fast moving piece to maneuver the ball or do the scoring with. But you're very right, Ben. You're not running off and scoring on your own a lot of the time, and you are going to be able to just kind of delay in theory.
Yeah,
and it's fine. Like, it's just a nega trait. It's a nega trait for a reason. But
should we talk? Can we mention the big thing the runner unlocks? And that's the 1-turn touchdown for vampires. Now it's significantly easier.
Oh my god!
They have movement 8 now. Well, they can do it. So like they have movement 8,
access.
and yes, with Edge access, with a frenzy piece that will always activate because your 1-turn touchdown is always going to put you next to a thrall when you blitz. So like your big guy's getting strength 5 on his blitz to do the 1-turner twice, guaranteed. You can't not do it. And then you have strength 4 pieces to follow that up with, and then you've got a movement 8 edge 2+ with access to dodge. I think it's like insane. I think it's going to be so much easier for Vampire teams to do this than a lot of other teams.
I think they're going to be wicked in 7s.
What, the
I
runner?
mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, like,
for sure.
think about how well my frog catcher did. Didn't have 8 movement. Didn't have the
Strength 2 as well.
yeah. It's basically
I mean, Pogo 2+
one
did
better
help.
with regen and hypnogaze. Yeah, but if you've got a Varg with frenzy and claws, you just carve a path and let this guy run through for the 1-turn. You get a blitz, you go over the half line. Yeah.
Oh, in blitz.
If,
Sorry,
yeah, if you went over,
high
if you got a
kick.
blitz or a high kick or whatever,
yeah.
and you were in the mid, you've got quite a few opportunities actually. Yeah, to get a 1-turn touchdown.
I mean, that's quite
in
niche
7.
with a high kick.
Yeah.
Just get a high kick and you win. It's fine.
If you will it, it will happen.
Manifesting it. Yeah, what's that time? 1 in 12 times. That's exactly what will happen.
No. I mean, if you think about tournament packages, like you were saying, like think about the skill access and think about the cost of that player for 7s.
Oh yeah. Vamps are going to be very entertaining in 7s.
Yeah.
But the runner, I think, it's a great.
Also, sorry,
positional.
you can re-roll Bloodlust, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's fine. 2+ of the reroll, easy. So
And
all
they
that
are going to
8
be
scoring is fine.
Yeah, they are going to be a team when you are going to need to save your rerolls for the thing you really want to do. That thrall both down that you block, just take them both down.
Yeah, you're gonna have to conserve. I think some kind of 4-4 roster is probably the best way to go. I mean, tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but I think if I was starting a league with vampires, which I am going to be, I had it in my head originally there would be 2 throwers, a blitzer and a runner. I actually think it's 2 throwers, a Varg, and I'm going to go runner because I like the idea of the speed, but I think there's going to be a couple of different variations, right? I do think there are going to be some people that are quite happy, and this is something that again we saw unfold that I think was a solid learning piece. You can, I think, go Varg, blitzer, thrower, but bearing in mind that the Varg, blitzer, and 2 thralls become your heavy front line, and you just farm thralls and use your 2-die blocks there to cause damage. I wasn't expecting to see that package become a reality, but actually you can do that. I think if you want to go heavy bash vampires, you can build that. You've got your 2 throwers, one can be support, one can be the ball dude or your safety, and then you have your Bloodlust 3+ on the line with armor 10 and regen, or armor 9 and regen, strength 4 and tough. And just when you're blocking and blitzing, like Ben said, the Bloodlust is almost irrelevant, because you're just going to be taking those punches and passing most of the time, and you're not going to be in a bad situation. So I was interested to see that because I actually think that is a potential build. But personally, you've got to have the 2 throwers, you've got to have the Varg, and then you just kind of season to taste with either the runner or the extra blitzer. But I would be leaning towards the runner.
Yeah, I would 100%. I wouldn't leave home without
Yeah.
one.
And I think that Bloodlust is going to hurt you at certain times, but generally speaking, it's pretty manageable. And I think 5 vampires, because of the I think you can have 5 vampires and it will be fine as long as 2 of them are combat pieces that you are leaving in combat to kind of counterbalance that thing. I think if you go and runner, thrower, Varg, Varg's gonna that might be a bit of a struggle to keep everyone motivated all of the time. But if you are going to take a Varg and a blitzer and have them be in fighting all of the time, then actually I think you're okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking runner, thrower, Varg for league build. And the real question there is, do you take the extra reroll and start with just 11 players on the roster? And this was the other thing, Trips, because obviously you got to see it firsthand. The thralls, they're not particularly hardy, are they?
No, they are. I mean, they're the one time where I think the Games Workshop model for them is exactly as they are. They feel like bones with clothes on, and they play like bones with clothes on because they get smacked and they are literally food for everyone. So they're going to go. I think you're going to see lots of quick games with vampires because they are going to remove players, but you are also going to remove their players as well. I don't know how many we ended up with at the end of the stream, but I think we were playing sevens for most of the second half.
No wonder I had such a good time watching it.
Journeyman thralls are probably fine though, right? Like you're probably not rolling many dice with them anyway. Like if they've got to escape, you can hypnogaze them free, right?
You're never going to buy one.
What's the problem with the journeyman thrall? What's the problem with the journeyman thrall? No. The problem with the journeyman thrall is not that he's loner, is that he's your 11th player. Which means you're going to be down to 9 players at most by the end of the half. You don't get journeyman over 11. I think we're going to see a lot of mercenary linemen taken as inducements. And I really think people should do that because we had 12 thralls, 4 vampires, and there was 4 or 5 thralls out by the end of the game. Because a wily opponent is going to aim for them as if they're skinks. Okay, that's probably the best way of doing it. You play against lizards, what do you want to do? You want to take out the skinks because the skinks are the crux of the team. Vampires, very similar. You're playing against vampires. The vampires are going to take care of 1 or 2 of the thralls out of the game. You take care of the other 6, and it's just going to absolutely compound on it. But as soon as a thrall is missing next game, if you start off at 12 players, you don't get anything. You just start at 11. So I actually think that starting roster, I think if you're playing a one-on-one match play game, the minimum of 12 players. But for league, I'm thinking I start with the 4 vamps, including the Vargolf, and I only take 7 thralls down to 11, with the knowledge that the first few games I'm only going to be running with 11 players. Like Ben said, they're going to be probably journeyman 1 or 2 at a time, and I'll have to take mercenary players to get myself built up. Because if you start with a 12-man roster and you get a miss next game, you've wasted your money. You don't get anything back for it. It's a really interesting one. So it's similar to what we thought, but Bloodlust is a bit better, and thralls are a little bit worse. I think stand goal achieved. I am very much sat down. This happened when we were playing TI as well. Yeah. So, guys, initial reactions before we wrap up on the vampire team. Is it better or worse than you thought?
Oh, better than I thought. I think they've improved as a team to the previous vampire team for sure. Like, previous vampire team was bottom tier 2. This is, I think it's close to tier 1. And yeah, I just think it's a really way more interesting team. Movement 8's great. Every team should have movement 8. Not dwarves.
Yeah, where's my movement 8 orc?
Man,
you have to build him. You can do that. Blitzer.
Scrap a Sorehead, right?
+1 movement.
Paint him red.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. Because the interesting thing about vampires is that for the NAFC, they've been rated as tier 1. Now, according to the rules, they're tier 2. But the NAF guys have looked at the roster and said, no, this is every bit as good as Skaven. Let's put them in tier 1. Now, I looked at that and I thought, that is optimistic. But I'm interested to see your guys' takes on this.
With the NAFC ruling?
With the NAFC, putting them in tier 1, yeah. Bearing in mind that Beachhead and Bonehead Bowl, they're tier 2, where they start.
Now, they've said they're going to revise it in January. They're going to revise the balancing in January. I think it's very sensible to put them in tier 1 because I think it's better that people get used to them with limited skills. So if people are going to take vampires in the tournament, they're going to say, okay, we're going to build it to the tier 1 package. And I think that's healthier to give them more on top of that than to make people used to a tier 2 package and then take stuff away. I think making them tier 1 is better because you're like practicing with a worse team. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It does if they get downgraded to tier 2 in the January update.
But if they don't, then it's because they've been deemed to be pretty strong.
Yeah, because I don't think they're a tier 1 team. I think they're.
I don't think so either.
I think they're a top tier
they are
2
not.
team. And when it's one of the teams where the coach will make such a difference because
Exactly.
a really good coach and a coach who knows what he's doing will be a nightmare with vampires, particularly if they don't roll ones. But you can have a very bad day with vampires very quickly, and you could find yourself in the second half running out of players, rolling badly, and an opponent just running around you, and you'd be not having a lot of fun.
I exactly agree, and I think that's why like it's good to limit those really good coaches to tier 1 for now, because I think like it's better that like they gain stuff than lose stuff. I just think it's a healthier thing to do.
That they are rechecking it in January, as long as they do actually recheck it in January, then I understand where you're coming from. That actually, if they're struggling, they get an extra skill, and it makes it more lucrative. If that's the angle, then I think that's cool. My question would be, what are orcs rated at in the NAFC?
I don't know, tier 1 probably.
If they're tier 1, cool.
Are they?
If orcs are tier 2,
they were tier 2 in World Cup, weren't they?
They are well, I think World Cup had a couple of different tiers, didn't it? But Games Workshop have downgraded orcs to tier 2, and let me tell you, I think orcs are. If I was going to play orcs versus vampires, I'd bet a reasonable amount on the orc team. Orcs are tier 1. Okay, cool. All right. Actually, given that they're going to do a balance check for vampires in January, starting them off with a smaller package as a tester trial is a good thing. Chucking them in as tier 1 for the sake of tier 1, I don't agree with. But if they're doing it because actually it's easier to add skills in the future, then I can see some logic in that. I don't think they're tier 1. I don't think they're going to play out as tier 1. I think exactly what you guys have said. There's going to be some teams, there's going to be some players that can play them really well, and there's going to be a whole load of pro skill taken that's going to enable that. Sorry, Milt.
I think they're a bit of an odd one. So like with the orc comparison, like generally speaking, there's one set orc list, whereas there's quite a lot of variety in the vampire list potentially, and obviously that's gonna kind of throw it like put a bit of mix into it, because we're not gonna know for a while what the best like.
I'm not sure we ever will, because when it comes to it, it's going to depend on the skills package.
But also where you've got that variety, it might make a huge difference between having the Vargeist or having the Blitzers, depending on the other teams that are taken in the tournament.
Clause is pretty useful in a bash meta.
And so I think it'll be much harder to judge the vampire team in like a short period of time as a result of that. Whereas there are other teams, orcs are a great example of that, where there's pretty much just like a flat list that everyone will run with maybe a tiny variation, but there's not much deviation in it. It's blitzers, big uns, and then whatever you like.
Milton loves the troll thrower combo.
That's really good.
Sorry, Trips.
Yeah. Well, and even for the different levels of build, so there's going to be different for a 1.05, a 1.1, a 1.15, and a 1.2. You've got a variety of rosters at each of those levels, not just, if it's a 1.1, you take this. If it's 1.2, you can squeeze this in.
Yeah.
At 1.2, there's probably 6 different rosters you could take, because you start to trade players for rerolls and detail. The skills packages will be fun, because I think there's a fair few different skill packages you can run there, very much dependent on how you want to play them.
Yeah, definitely. It's which I think is just a testament to how exciting this roster is, because we're going to see loads of variation. Absolutely love it. Anyway, to wrap up with vampires, I think a couple of week 1 learns. It's okay to turn over instead of eating a guy, and the Vargeist is pretty awesome. I think those are two things that are definitely worth knowing. And I look forward to playing with the Sylvanian family's new stars.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to have another episode on them because they're interesting.
Captain Carla von
Yeah.
Fangs in a Dusty Undead build is going to be very exciting.
I think we'll have to get some test games in with some. Well, I don't know what a vanilla vampire build is, but we might get closer to that. But with the stars is going to be really interesting because I think
Give me that Luther Tomb King.
yeah, you will play one way against them without stars, and they will be very different with them.
Yeah, well, it's just Luther's amazing. Anyway, guys, I think it's best we wrap up for today because we've all got miserable jobs to go back to tomorrow, except for Ben. He's gonna be living his life, living his best life, which is fantastic. But no, I look forward to continuing on with Vampires because this release, the team's brilliant, the box is brilliant from Games Workshop, the roster's really good, the changes they've done are really good. I think the only thing they could have done better is leave the runner at strength 4, but then it would have been like the cries of OP. I think this is beautifully done, absolutely beautifully done. Anyway, thanks very much for hanging out, guys. It's lovely to talk about Blood Bowl with you. And we are definitely going to wrap up for today. So thanks very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.